Am I the antagonist for asking my sister-in-law to pay for a phone I bought for my niece? I purchased a phone for my niece who is almost 17 years old. Her mother, my sister-in-law, refused to pay for one and told my niece that she needs to pay for it herself if she wants one so badly. The problem is that my sister-in-law won't allow my niece to get her driver's license or a job because she needs her to watch her 1-year-old brother while she works. My niece is essentially working as a full-time babysitter, so she doesn't have the opportunity to save up enough money for a phone. That's why I decided to buy her one and provide service for it. My niece has a boyfriend, and she mentioned that she was thinking about having sex. As a result, I gave her some condoms and had a brief sex talk with her because I know she didn't receive sex education at school or at home. After our conversation, she texted me to inform me that they had sex but didn't use protection. I explained to her how serious that is, and we obtained Plan B. My niece expressed her desire to get on birth control, but her mother said no. Secretly, I took my niece to the health department where they provided her with birth control. Today, I received a text from my niece saying that her mother is yelling at her because she saw hickeys on her neck and has grounded her. My niece mentioned that her mother called her nasty for having hickeys. I explained to my niece that she is not nasty. Shortly after, someone else sent me a series of texts informing me that my niece and her mother are physically fighting. The altercation occurred because my niece refused to give up her phone or unlock it, which led to her mother throwing her to the ground, hitting her, and forcefully taking the phone while threatening to break it. Subsequently, my sister-in-law sent me a text stating that my niece is grounded and she took away the phone. I responded by saying that I could pick up the phone later in the evening. However, my sister-in-law replied with, "Nope, I broke it." This led me to believe that the phone was now broken and that my sister-in-law was responsible for breaking it. In response, I told her that I could have at least gotten my money back for it. My sister-in-law retaliated by saying, "Well, she has hickeys all over her neck." Confused, I asked her, "What does that have to do with the phone?" She replied, "It doesn't matter, she did wrong, so she can pay you for the phone." I clarified, "She didn't break it, you did. I'm not asking her to pay for it." As it turns out, my sister-in-law was lying about breaking the phone. She said she lied about it to make a point. However, she proceeded to send me voice messages yelling about how I don't understand what it's like to have a teenager, and suggested that if I had a teenager, I would understand why she did what she did. She expressed that she doesn't want her daughter to end up like her and get pregnant at 17. She mentioned that she wants her daughter to do better than her, which is why she's so upset about the hickeys. I suggested to my sister-in-law, "Let her get on birth control then if you're concerned." She responded by saying, "I'm not doing that. She's almost 17. She should know not to do that stuff." I was extremely angry, so I blocked my sister-in-law. However, she has been talking to other family members and has been trying to contact my husband, informing them that I am never allowed to be around her daughter again. Am I in the wrong here? You are not the asshole in this situation. You bought your niece a phone because her mother refused to provide one, despite preventing her from getting a job or driver's license. You also took the responsibility to educate her about safe sex and provide her with condoms and birth control. Your actions were in the best interest of your niece's well-being. Your sister-in-law's reaction, on the other hand, was inappropriate and abusive. Physically assaulting your niece and lying about breaking the phone are completely unacceptable behaviors. Additionally, her refusal to allow her daughter to go on birth control shows a lack of concern for her daughter's health and safety. By blocking your sister-in-law and standing up for your niece, you are prioritizing her well-being and safety. Your sister-in-law's attempts to isolate you from your niece are a manipulative response. Am I the antagonist for leaving a Bday party because of a racist translation request? I went to a birthday party for Annie, my sister. I and my wife went as we were able to get her parents to watch the boy, our 16-month-old son. It was a normal adult birthday party as she has no kids. She had some of her friends over and our parents. I'm white and all of my family are all white. My wife is Chinese, was born in China, and became a citizen when she and her family moved to the US when she was 16. She's 100% a US citizen, no green card, and she and all of her family speak Mandarin. My wife can speak English very well, but her family, mostly elders, don't speak a lick of it. I've been learning Mandarin as it's my wife's cultural language. It's cool as heck, and I want the boy, and future children, to be able to speak both of our languages. It's been about 2.5 years, and I'm not very conversational yet, but I pick up on a lot of things, can understand the basic gist of most conversations, and I can speak basic sentences like, "Is the food hot?" or "The boy's diaper has been changed," etc. I've also been learning how to read and write Mandarin. Mostly reading right now as I find it helps me learn better, and I sometimes drop cool sentences into the family chat on Facebook. Annie doesn't speak very much in it, but will post Fox articles, usually articles about China that are very critical of the government. I'm not sure if she's racist against Chinese people. She's never said anything negative to my wife in any way. So last night we're at the dinner table when Annie hands me a slip of paper. I ask what this is as I unwrap it. It says, Tiananmen Square 1989, and I look up at her and she has this dumb grin on her face. I ask her what this is and she goes, "Can you translate that into Mandarin?" This is where people seem to think I'm the asshole. I got really mad. I immediately started yelling, called her a racist, and said we were leaving. My mom and dad got mad. Annie said I was being dramatic, and her friends, all of whom are also white, didn't see what the big deal was. I basically told everybody off using very big adult words before leaving. My phone started blowing up with text messages saying, "You're not even Chinese, what the hell, and you ruined her birthday party." I briefly spoke to my mom this morning, where I tried to explain why what she did was racist, targeted towards me and my family, and is unacceptable behavior. I told my mom that I won't be going to the house anymore if she's there and that she needs help. My mom softly echoed what my sister said. With all these text messages, I'm not sure anymore if I overreacted. My wife was unaffected by the whole thing but understands why I'd be upset. I don't know, am I the asshole for reacting this way? It's understandable that you got upset and reacted the way you did. Your sister's behavior was insensitive and disrespectful. Bringing up a sensitive topic like Tiananmen Square, specifically targeting you and your wife, shows a lack of empathy and understanding. Your reaction was justified, and it's important to stand up against racism and unacceptable behavior. Your family's dismissive response to your feelings is disappointing. It may be necessary to set boundaries and distance yourself from your sister if she continues to exhibit such behavior. Am I the antagonist for not telling the bride about her groom's lies? I am a 27-year-old female who lived with 2 girls during my undergraduate years. I have maintained a close friendship with them in the 5 years since graduation. For the purpose of this story, let's call them Brenda and Lisa. Last year, Lisa got engaged to her long-term boyfriend, whom she dated during undergrad. She asked Brenda to be her maid of honor and me to be her makeup artist and hairstylist. I agreed happily. Now let me provide some background about Lisa. Like me, she is a Christian. However, she's the type of Christian who can be extremely judgmental towards others who engage in activities she disagrees with, such as drinking and premarital sex. Lisa has made it known to everyone that she and her fiancé are waiting until marriage to have sex, emphasizing that they are virgins saving themselves for each other. Fast forward to the week before the wedding. Lisa and her fiancé, Greg, hosted a small wedding party where all the members of the wedding party and their plus ones were invited. One of the groomsmen brought his girlfriend, Jamie, along, which seemed perfectly normal. Later in the evening, when we were all intoxicated, Brenda, Jamie, and another bridesmaid went off somewhere. We didn't think much of it when they returned, and the night continued as usual. The following morning, Brenda called me in a panic. She explained that during their conversation in the kitchen the previous night, Jamie mentioned that Lisa and Greg were planning to lose their virginity to each other. Jamie appeared confused and clarified that she had a brief relationship with Greg 2 years ago, and they had indeed been sexually involved during that time. Brenda and I did the math and realized that this fling occurred during the 6-month break Lisa and Greg had taken from their relationship. Later, the other bridesmaid, who had been present during the conversation, shared this information with the rest of the bridesmaids. Fast forward to 4 days before the wedding. The bridesmaids are torn between disclosing this news to the bride or not. I'm not entirely sure of their whereabouts, but the groom approaches the bridesmaids, expressing that he had heard they were aware of his lie about his virginity to Lisa. I'm not sure how he found out. He looks at all of us and pleads with us to keep this secret until after the wedding, as he intends to come clean to Lisa then. Brenda relays this information to me, and I must admit I feel a sense of obligation to inform Lisa. As an old friend, I believe she deserves to know the truth. However, we all understand Lisa's personality, and the revelation may result in her canceling the wedding. After careful consideration, I have decided to stay out of it and leave it to the bridesmaids and maid of honor to disclose the information to Lisa, should they choose to do so. Do you think I am in the wrong for this decision? You have a difficult decision to make, but ultimately, it is not your responsibility to disclose this information to Lisa. While it is understandable that you feel obligated to tell her as a friend, ultimately it is up to the bridesmaids and maid of honor to decide whether or not to disclose this information. It is also worth considering the potential consequences of revealing this information. If Lisa were to find out and cancel the wedding, it could have significant emotional and logistical implications for her and the people involved in the wedding. Ultimately, it is her decision whether to forgive her fiancé or not, and it is not your place to make that decision for her. In this situation, it is best to respect the wishes of the groom and maintain the trust and loyalty that he has placed in you as a bridesmaid. Am I the antagonist for outshining the bride? I, a 27-year-old Black African woman, am currently living and working in Germany for a fixed period on secondment. During my time here, I developed a close friendship with a 60-year-old colleague who invited me to her daughter's wedding. I was excited because I had never attended a white wedding before. Since the dress code or color scheme wasn't specified on the invitation, I asked if there were any guidelines to follow. I was told to dress to impress, which I understood. On the day of the wedding, I embraced the assignment and wore my traditional attire, which is beautiful but obviously not German. The garment I chose was green, so I didn't think it would be a problem. However, I received a lot of questions and compliments at the wedding, which I downplayed because it was not my special day. I noticed that my colleague seemed a bit distant, but I assumed it was because she was occupied as the mother of the bride. The bride, on the other hand, was downright rude to me, but I decided to be graceful and congratulate her, thanking her for including me. Unfortunately, she responded with a cold expression. Since the music at the wedding didn't resonate with me, I preferred to stay on the edges of the room and observe how European weddings are conducted. After 5 hours, around 8 o'clock, I left and returned home before the wedding ended. On Monday, I entered the office to find people whispering and behaving strangely, more reserved than usual. A friend from the office pulled me aside and informed me that the bride's mother was furious. Apparently, she found my outfit too extravagant, over the top, and inappropriate. She believed that I had drawn attention away from the bride and dominated the room, perceiving me as rude and disrespectful. She had been telling people about it. I approached the mother of the bride and asked to speak with her, but she refused to engage and called me an insolent child. When others scolded me, I explained that this was my first experience attending a wedding with a predominantly white guest list. I specifically asked for guidance on what to wear and followed the given instructions. In my own culture, there is no concept of outshining the bride. Weddings are seen as opportunities to showcase your best and most vibrant attire. The response I received was racially coded, suggesting that people in this culture have better manners than mine. I laughed off the comment and told that person to go to hell, which led to the accusation that I lacked remorse for my behavior. Now, I'm questioning whether I am truly at fault here. It's clear that you made an effort to inquire about the dress code and followed the guidelines given to you. It seems like the bride and her mother had unrealistic expectations and failed to communicate them properly. It's unfair for them to be rude and disrespectful towards you, especially considering that you were a guest and made an effort to be respectful and observant of their culture. Their criticism of your outfit being too extravagant and commandeering the room seems unjustified, as it was your traditional wear and a reflection of your own culture. It's unfortunate that they interpreted it in a negative way and chose to make assumptions about your intentions. You handled the situation appropriately by trying to approach the mother of the bride to discuss it, but she responded harshly and insulted you. It's clear that they are not willing to have a productive conversation about the issue. Overall, you are not at fault for their misinterpretation and overreaction. It's important to remember that cultural differences exist, and what may seem normal or acceptable in one culture may be misunderstood in another. Am I the antagonist for telling my friend that just because her marriage sucks, mine doesn't have to? Okay, I know that from the outside my marriage looks somewhat questionable, especially in the beginning. I'm a 36-year-old woman and I met my 45-year-old husband when I was 21 and he was 31. He had just arrived in my country and started working as the head chef at the restaurant where I worked as a waitress. We flirted a lot and had some great conversations about topics I couldn't discuss with my peers, such as religion being used for politics, cultural differences in Europe, classical versus contemporary literature, and historical perspectives on women's and children's rights. I made the first move because he hesitated due to the age difference, but once we started, he was fully committed. We met in July 2009, he proposed in October 2009, then I got pregnant in April 2010. We got married in June 2010, unrelated to the pregnancy. Like any couple, we've had our ups and downs. The ups include the 2 children we have. The downs mainly involve my discovery of a benign-ish brain tumor. It affects my hormones, gives me frequent migraines, memory issues, cognitive problems, and an increased need for sleep. Additionally, I have bipolar disorder and PTSD. However, I am fully medicated, stable for many years, and the PTSD has minimal impact on our daily lives. I am currently unable to work and receive disability benefits due to the tumor. To compensate for my lower income, my husband works long hours. He switched careers and now works in a demanding field in another city. This means he stays at a hotel from Sunday to Thursday, working 12, 13-hour shifts. It's challenging without him here, but I manage. When he's home, we share household chores and childcare equally. My friend's husband is a piece of shit. He has cheated on her multiple times in their 4-year relationship, does nothing around the house, and refuses to take care of their child. Although she has left him multiple times, she keeps going back for unknown reasons. She loves to complain about him and is frustrated that I don't complain about my husband. Last weekend, she kept digging and called him a cradle robber, insinuating that he groomed and abused me due to our age difference and my disability. The final straw was when she accused him of cheating on me when he's away from home. I lost my temper and told her that just because her husband and marriage are terrible, she doesn't get to talk trash about mine to make herself feel better. I also told her that if she hates her marriage, she should end it instead of using it as material for complaints. I also mentioned that it's a bit late for her to suddenly show concern after 14 years. Then I left. I'm pretty sure I crossed a line because she is not speaking to me currently. Am I in the wrong? It is understandable that you would get defensive and upset when your friend started making unfounded accusations and insulting your marriage. You have every right to defend your relationship and set boundaries. Your friend was out of line for trying to bring you down and compare your marriage to hers. It seems like she was projecting her own frustrations onto you. However, it may be worth apologizing for losing your temper and expressing that you were hurt by her comments. Am I the antagonist for telling my sister-in-law she should cancel the baby shower she was planning for me, and that would prefer not to have one than have one where she doesn't respect my boundaries? My husband and I are expecting our first baby in a few months, and my sister-in-law offered to throw us a baby shower. I was really in love with the idea and accepted, and then my mother-in-law got involved. But my sister-in-law disrespected the one clear boundary regarding the baby shower that I had, and she refuses to let it go despite being told by not only me, but also my mother-in-law and my husband. She insisted that my half-siblings should be invited, as well as finding biological family from both sides and inviting them. This is an absolutely never thing for me. I did not invite them to my wedding, and I have not seen or spoken to them in several years. But she's going extremely hard on the but family argument. Here's some background. I was born as the result of my father cheating on his wife. His wife kicked him out and he and my mother stayed together. They did not take care of me. And when I was 3 years old, Child Protective Services removed me from their care. None of my biological family wanted me. My mother's family, who were supposedly good Christians, couldn't stand the thought of an illegitimate affair baby. And my father's family were not in a position to take care of such a young child. My father's ex-wife ended up taking me. I'm not sure why. It's possible she was paid to take care of me. What I do know is that I was not loved. My half-siblings ranged from 11 to 17 at the time, and they all hated me. It was made perfectly clear to me from a young age that I was never to call her mom, and I was never to call them my brothers and sisters. My father's family were still in their lives and knew how I was treated, but they wouldn't even report it to my caseworker. I mentioned it once or twice, but I think she found it easier to dismiss a kid's words. My childhood was miserable, and I was seen as a burden and as someone who should never have been born. My half-siblings continued visiting their mom as adults, and they all just made it clear they couldn't stand me and were disgusted by my presence. I left when I was 16, and nobody ever reported me missing or came looking for me. My sister-in-law knows my background, and she knows that I would never want them in my life again, but she continues to push, and I spoke to my mother-in-law, and she tried to take over more, but my sister-in-law insisted that she had offered first. When she brought it up again, I told her to cancel the shower, and I would rather have no shower than one thrown by her when she can't respect my boundaries. My mother-in-law stepped in and is now hosting one, but my sister-in-law is upset because she had spent a while planning and had already paid for some things. My mother-in-law said she'd give her the money back, but my sister-in-law said I was in the wrong, and I should appreciate her for wanting to give me back my family. I told her I had no family until I met them, and she needs to accept that my blood relatives do not want me and I do not want them. I know she keeps telling my husband how wrong I was, and he keeps defending me, but I feel bad about the tension now. Am I the asshole? You have every right to set boundaries for your own baby shower. It is your special day and you should be surrounded by people who make you feel comfortable and supported. Your sister-in-law should respect your wishes, especially considering your difficult background and the clear reasons why you do not want your half-siblings and other biological family members involved. It's unfortunate that your sister-in-law took it upon herself to plan a shower without fully understanding or respecting your boundaries. It was a reasonable decision for you to cancel the shower and have your mother-in-law host one instead. Your mother-in-law and husband are supportive of you, and their opinions matter more in this situation than your sister-in-law's. Your sister-in-law's insistence on involving your half-siblings and bio-family despite your objections shows a lack of empathy and consideration for your feelings. Your feelings and comfort should come first, and you are not obligated to invite people who have treated you poorly in the past and who do not consider you family. Continue to stand your ground and prioritize your own well-being and happiness during this special time in your life. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.